Hi. What's up, friend? Today, I'm leaving the computer behind, the console behind, and I want to tell you a story from one of my beginning times in my audio career that really changed everything for me and allowed me to progress in my career really, really fast. So if you missed the last videos, I am in Montana. I've been mixing remotely out here using the Starlink, and it's just been so much fun working with clients while being in the place that I love, that I cherish. We just got done, Margo and I, doing a hike. We take a hike every single morning and then come back and work on audio. And when I was on this hike, this story came to mind. So I've been mixing audio, I think about 15 or 16 years from whenever I first started professionally. And in the very beginning, I kind of had an advantage when I first started, because whenever I first started, digital audio was just starting to become a thing. So people were still kind of using analog or using digital recording, but just simple interfaces. And especially in the live scene, digital consoles were just starting to get stable and powerful. And most of the engineers out there came from the analog world. So I had an advantage just because I understood computers. I grew up with computers, and understanding a digital console was really, really simple. One other thing that I had that was my advantage at the time was I really understood where the vocals needed to be. That was just, I don't know why or how, that was just a natural sort of gift that I had. Most engineers that I was around and that I was working around were really big on the drums and the bass and the guitars and all that stuff. And all that stuff is very important. And I wasn't really good at getting the best drum sound or the best guitar sound at the time. I could get a really good vocal sound and make sure that the vocals were really up front and forward, and then the band built behind them. And even though, looking back, my mixes weren't really that great, to the normal audience, they loved my mixes just because they could hear the vocal. And it was the same thing in the studio. At the time, the mixes were very band heavy, and I just at the time preferred a vocal heavy mix. And so for probably about 5 years, I had this advantage. And most people that I was surrounding myself with just loved the mixes. They just loved how they sounded. They were technically better comparatively to the other engineers that were kind of surround me in the space that I worked in, right? And it's so funny looking back, because at that time, I decided an opportunity came up to go and basically drop my whole life and go work on cruise ships. And so I just couldn't turn it down. And when that opportunity came up about a month later, I flew to Australia and started working on cruise ships. And when I got there, it was kind of the same thing. Like, I wasn't the greatest mixer, but I could get vocals really in an awesome spot really fast. And the audience and people around me really loved that. Oh my gosh, Margo just found a bone. A big bone. She's going to be good for a while. So anyway, I spent about a year doing cruise ships, and it was going really well. I was technically better than just the average that was on the ships, and things were going awesome. Then, I think it was on my second ship, I had the head of audio for the whole company. It is a big company. I won't say the name, but it's one of the biggest in the world. Was coming to the ship, to just do a visit, check on some things. They were going to maybe do some upgrades, so he just wanted to, you know, confirm some stuff, do some training, whatever. So I was really excited because I was like, oh, yes, like I get to have somebody come and listen to what I'm doing and tell me how awesome it is, you know, whatever. And up until that point, I had never really had someone of that caliber come and listen to something that I had mixed, you know? I mean, this guy is such a talented guy. He's mixed thousands of shows. He's done Broadway. He's done huge musical tours. He's legit. He knows what he's doing. So he comes, and I'm all excited and a little bit nervous, and we start the sound check. And typically on these ships, you get a really kind of a quick sound check every day for a new artist, and you have to make the show work with the limited amount of time. You usually have an hour or less, and then you have to do 2 or 3 shows that night. So we do the sound check, and we virtual record, virtual sound check, the whole sound check. So a virtual sound check, if you don't know, is basically you can record straight out of the console right after the preamps and before the EQ and all the mixing decisions, the fader, all that stuff. And after everyone leaves, you can push a button and then play back the whole show, and you can make adjustments. It's not perfect. It's not exactly how it sounds, but it's very, very, very close. And so it's really good for training, whatever. So anyway, so we recorded the whole sound check just so that, you know, we could mess with some stuff after the band and the artist left. And he watches and he gets done. He tells me, you know, good job, like handling that. And he was like, okay, now I want to show you something. And so he soloed a few things. He soloed the guitars and he was like, okay, listen, do you hear that? And I was listening and I was like, I don't know. They sound fine. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I was just being honest. I had no idea. And he's like, okay. So then he solos the vocal and the background vocals. And he's like, okay, do you hear that? And I was like, do I hear that? Like, I don't know. It sounds fine. He's like, sounds good? I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. He's like, okay. He's like, let me show you something. So he leaves them soloed. We go down into the house, 5 rows from the front. It's like where the best sound was. It's kind of a smaller theater on this ship. And the track is playing, whatever song in the rehearsal process. And he's like, okay, now do you hear it? And I was like, man, I was listening, and I was like, I don't know if I hear it. And he goes, so this is what too much 3K sounds like. He was like, you have too much 3K. This is harsh. He's like, you've definitely become accustomed to the sound because you're not hearing that it's off and it's wrong, but that's what this sounds like. He's like, do you hear it? And I was like, I think so. And so we go back, and he unsolos those, he solos the guitars, pushes play, it's the same thing. And I hear it this time. I can slightly hear that frequency range that he's talking about. I was just like, oh my gosh, no way. And he solos a bunch of stuff. The drums just had too much of it in there, you know? It just, across the whole mix, technically you could hear the vocals, but it was just a little bit harsh, you know? It wasn't clean sounding. And to have somebody of that caliber come and just point out that simple flaw, that one piece of advice changed my entire life and changed my entire career. Because now I could recognize it so easily. The next day, he ended up leaving. It was a short visit. The next day, I could hear it in the mix, and I adjusted and really tried to pay attention and craft it. And because of that experience, that's why I started using Quiztones, the sponsor of this video, just to learn what these frequencies are so that I could pinpoint them in the future. So that if I hear something that's too much, I at least know, oh, that's in the 7K range or the 100 hertz range or the whatever hertz range. Not to get so scientific about it, but just to have an overall understanding of where some problem frequencies might be inside my mix, and being able to just be able to sense them instantly and at least know the general area of where I need to boost or cut that frequency, right? So fast forward, man, it was probably a few months later, he comes back to the ship. And I'm really excited now because now I get to kind of show off, you know, what I do, right? And so he comes in and I'm doing a sound check and it's him and another person and I've got this mix like the best I possibly can. This is everything. And I'll never forget, after sound check, he comes up and he was like, "You did it. You fixed the problem. Like, your mix is balanced now." He was like, "Of course, you know, there's some things to learn. We'll go over that, but you learned from that lesson." And it was such a crazy experience because up until that point, I had been kind of just on my own in a lot of ways. Like, I was, you know, friends were listening to my mixes, some artists, you know, people that I knew were all listening and were all giving me great feedback, but I didn't understand the specifics from a true pro that has been doing it for years. I didn't understand like what 10% change takes it to that next level. That little 3K adjustment that I made the biggest difference. And having a relationship like that with someone that I trusted, I could send him anything and he could tell me like, "Oh, this is bad, that's bad, this is wrong, you know, this sounds good, this isn't," really just made me see things a lot differently. And so through that, the number one thing that I want to tell you is, if you're alone and, you know, you're mixing on your own and you're hitting it really hard, oh my gosh, Margo's all the way up this mountain right now. You might be too connected. You might be too in it to understand what you're lacking in or what needs to change in order to appeal to more people to get more clients, right? You need a mentor. You need to step outside what you're working on and find somebody that can be completely unbiased and be completely honest with you and tell you where your mixes are lacking or even where your business is lacking. So if any of that sounds relatable to you, or you're an artist, or you're a musician, or you're a sound engineer, audio engineer, whatever you want to call it, someone that's truly looking to take something that's your passion, like music is your passion, and you're trying to take that and gain more clients and get better mixes, I have a group session that's just about to start in 2 weeks. So August 15th is the deadline. And it's a 4-week session where every single week we meet 3 times a week, and we will all be mixing new music every single week. We will be having business development talks every single week, and then a Q&A every single week where anybody can come and just ask questions based on mixing. I can review their mixes, I can review their sites, review how they're communicating with their clients, with their artists. It's just gonna be so much fun. And if that sounds something like you're interested in, I invite you to click the link in the description. You can apply for it. There's only a limited number of spots that are going to be available for this because I want to keep it really, really small. And I want to be able to have the right person in there that's in there not only to help themselves, but help themselves through helping other people, because we're all in this together. You know what I mean? Like, if I wouldn't have had this person to be on my team to help me in my mixing, and then because of that person, it ended up being multiple people throughout my career, multiple mentors throughout my career that I could shoot a message to. I could have them listen to my mix. Like, there's just no way I would be where I'm at. Like, if I wouldn't have had those experiences and I would have just done it all my own, like, my career would just be nothing, you know, because there's no learning from there. So if you're interested in that, click the link to apply. I take all the calls, so we'll talk for 15 minutes and just make sure that you're the right fit, and make sure it's just the right thing for you, because I am just so proud of this thing, and I'm so excited to take another group and do this. Speaking of groups and having groups help you and working together, I remember whenever I was a little kid, and my favorite console of all time is Nintendo 64. I just loved it when it came out. It was so much fun to get whatever the newest game was, go home, play it like crazy, and then go to school the next day and talk to your friends about the game. And I remember there's been so many times where I was on a level of Star Fox, for example, the last level. I could not defeat that last boss. And I was just trying so hard to get there. And then I would go to school and ask and be like, dude, has anybody played Star Fox? Dude, has anybody played Star Fox? I gotta beat this last level. And I would find somebody who's like, oh, I played it. Yeah, it's easy. You do this. And the coolest part was they would always tell me, you know, how to defeat the boss. And then obviously they were so into it that they had some secret as well. So you do this to defeat the boss, and then you do this thing and you get this extra level, or you get this extra perk or extra whatever. And so I would go on this path to try and figure out how to defeat this one boss, and then I'd end up with all this knowledge that got me deeper into the game. And that's like really powerful about collaboration, about working with other people. And it's the same way in audio, like finding a group of people, or finding a mentor, or finding somebody that you trust that you can talk with about all these things. Like, you're gonna find the answers to your questions, and then you're gonna find the other little secret realms of paths and possibilities that you can take that you may not have really thought was possible, or really didn't just think about those steps. You know, you were so focused on one thing, you didn't see this whole bigger picture. And so one of the things that I just started, there's literally 0 members in there right now. It is a completely free community, and I put a link in the description for that. And what this is, well, what I want this to be is I want this to be a group of engineers and artists and musicians who can come in here and feel safe to speak completely freely about their business, about their audio career, about their music. And every 2 weeks, I'm doing a call on there to where it's a whole hour where I show up and we just talk. What's up, Margs? And we just talk about any questions you have in audio, anything at all. Any questions you have on your business. I'm really excited for this. And so the first few people that sign up for this school community will get a free one-on-one just call where we just talk about whatever you want. We talk about audio, we can mix something together, I can review your mix, I can review your business portfolio, your mix portfolio, whatever you're marketing to try and get clients. And it's just something I'm really excited for. So if that sounds something like you're interested in, go check it out. If not, no worries. The biggest thing, honestly, that on this hike that I was on, that I was just thinking about over and over was sometimes through being into social media so much and into pick a thing, YouTube, TikTok, whatever you're into so much, is sometimes it can become semi-isolating because you're just seeing all these people do all this stuff, and you might not feel like you can do those things. And I don't know. I'm just here to tell you that you 100% can. And sometimes it takes a village, you know? It just takes a group of people to push you to be better, push you to improve. It's the same exact way with this dog behind me, Margo. When we go on these hikes, if it was just me going on these hikes all the time, number one, I wouldn't go on as many because I don't technically need to hike every single day, but she does. And then whenever we get out there, she wants to push it really hard and wants to go fast. And she makes me want to push it. And so we have this really fun give and take of pushing each other. And it's just such a fun experience to have something like that, to have another being that helps you along the path. And that's what she does for me on these hikes. That might sound dramatic, but it's for real. I've hiked more miles in the past month and a half than I have in my whole life, in terms of like per week, just because she loves it out here so much, and I just can't help but do it with her because it's just exciting. It's exciting to progress every day. And so anyway, that's what I want for you. So if you're interested in the school community, click the link. The group community sessions is going to end, the deadline to apply is August 15th. So if you're not in there by August 15th, then that you're not going to be in it. If not, no worries, no pressure. I hope you got something from this. I hope this inspires you to go out there and find a mentor. Find somebody that can just not only help you, but even just give you, give you the confidence to keep going and that you're on the right path. All right, friend. I'm going to hike back down to my van with Margo, and I have a jazz album to work on today, which I am very excited about. See you next time. You ready, Margs?